Did I ever tell you about the Civil War that your granddaddy fought in?
You've only told me 1,000 times, Daddy.
Well, now I'm going to tell you 1,001 times. We'll start at the election of 1860. Well, your granddaddy Abraham Lincoln was in a heated debate with Stephen Douglas, one of the greatest debaters of his time. I am the Republican nominee. I'm here to ease the minds of the Americans. I believe that it is my constitutional responsibility to uphold the laws of the land. The platform of my party believes in tariff protection, free labor, and internal development. I shall make no attempts to interfere with the existing slavery in the land or the fugitive slave laws. I shall, however, prevent the spreading of slavery in America. Slaves are humans too, but I do not support equal rights between blacks and whites. I, the Democratic nominee, am here to shed the light upon my political views. I believe that popular sovereignty would be beneficial for the country as a whole, which allow for the individual to have a voice within the suppressive boundaries of the majority. Slavery needs to be protected. Laws should be put in place. And then your granddaddy, when he won that presidential election, he swept the entire Northeast and Midwest. That was good old late for ya. Things started to go down south. On December 20th, 1860, when South Carolina seceded from the Union, followed by 6 other states, it was with Fort Sumter that the Civil War truly began. Anderson requested new supplies from Washington, D.C., as Fort Sumter was running out of provisions.
Oh, a letter. Fort Sumter is running out of provisions, and I requested supplies from Washington, D.C. Sincerely, Major Anderson.
First, Abraham Lincoln sent a letter to the governor of South Carolina, stating that he was sending supplies to Fort Sumter. He could not use violence unless there were feelings of hostility and the fort was attacked, but South Carolina had other things in mind.
General Beauregard, as President of the Confederacy, I command you to go and capture Fort Sumter.
Yes, Mr. President. On April 12th, the battle began. As the new supplies arrived, Beauregard's troops began to capture Fort Sumter, and eventually it fell. As the Civil War began, Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis began analyzing its strengths and weaknesses. The North is very industrious, thus allowing us to make a lot of weapons and supplies used for war. We also have a greater population of able-bodied men to fight and work in factories to make supplies. Our Union, as a whole, has a better transportation system, allowing for us to transport supplies and men more efficiently. We have all these advantages while the rebel states depend on manufactured goods from us because they have fewer factories. They are also not as stable as us because they only recently have rebelled. In addition, they are not as economically sound as the North, and their lack of railroads is detrimental to their communication and transportation.
As the South, we are more united to fight the war. As a whole, we have a stronger military leadership, along with many men willing to fight. We have a home field advantage. While the white men fight, we have slaves that would maintain our workforce. We have all these advantages, while the North has the trouble of mobilizing their army, which will tire out the men. The North's military leadership is also inferior compared to ours.
Well, Mary, I bet you're wondering what the first major battle of the Civil War was.
Dad, you've already told me.
But Mary, this is my favorite part. The Battle of Bull Run was also known as Manassas, shocked America into realizing that the war was going to be longer than 90 days. Everyone believed that the North was going to easily win, but the South had a surprising victory. After the Union lost, General McDowell was replaced by General McClellan. The next came the Battle of Shiloh, and America was officially introduced to total warfare. This was the Union's first major victory. However, it was a very costly one. During this battle, a general named Ulysses S. Grant came to light.
I bet you're going to talk about the battle that led to Lincoln issuing the Emancipation Proclamation now.
Hey, how did you know? You're right. The Battle of Antietam was also the bloodiest battle of the entire war. Well, since you seem to know everything, what happened at Gettysburg?
Gettysburg was the largest battle of the war. It took place in 1863, from July 1st through July 3rd, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. During the battle, the Union General Meade went against Robert E. Lee and his men. The two sides went back and forth, but the Union finally won after Lee's failure of an offensive attack called Pickett's Charge. This was a really bad, demoralizing defeat for the rebel Confederate States.
That's right. I've got to remember to commend your history teacher for doing a good job. The war finally ended on April 9, 1865 at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, when Robert E. Lee accepted the surrender terms from Ulysses S. Grant. When Lee surrendered, the Confederacy had no chance of winning the war. The effects of war were long-lasting. About 360,000 Union soldiers died, and 250,000 Confederates fell. The men who were not physically maimed were inflicted mentally. Everyone got to see the damages of war firsthand, and that's the story of the Civil War that your granddaddy fought.